When a podcast reminds me of a good Shriekback song, you know it's going to be a good one. On today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Hi there. This is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker and Residential Sales Manager of ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 159. So, let's see. It's also coming up on the last week of February. So, we're about to go into March. And, God, I'm loving the weather out there. I got the top down in the car, going all over the place. I was out in Mesa last week. Did a couple stops on the way in today. And finally getting a record here at, what time is it? 2:30 my time. So what is going on? This, once again, is one of those great days where I have such an amazing show planned, and then somebody sends me something, and somebody else sends me something else, and the awesomeness keeps getting pounded on top of each other. And since, one, it's 2:30, and I know your average American has the attention span measured in nanoseconds, not my audience, of course, but, I do try to keep it underneath 30 minutes nowadays. We don't have the kind of relationship where we can do 3 hours worth of podcast, now do we? Nobody wants to listen to Ray talk for 3 hours. All right. Now, if I had like a cool guest and we could get all Joe Rogan on the place, yeah, that'd be a different thing. But, 30 minutes. It's pretty much anybody can handle me at a time. So how are we going to fill this 30 minutes? Well, we can start with the numbers. All right. We all know the numbers. All right. Because the fun thing about numbers is they're always there. Numbers for February 21st, 2024, actives this week are 16,195, which is up 315 from the previous week. New listings were 2,207, which is up 238. Our contracts are also up 120, which brings us to 2,381. Closings last week were 1,420, and coming soon to an MLS near you is 695. You guys getting the feeling I'm just doing this because this is what I always do? Hey, 159 episodes cannot be wrong. And I know you guys wait for this farm report that I give every week. What does this mean to you? Actives are at 16,000. All right. That's most we've seen all year, most we've seen for quite some time. They're starting to push up. And our contracts are also going up at the same time. Gives us, down here on their supply side, 66.4 where we should be. Remember, we should be at 25,000 listings. Our demand is at 77.9, which is up a bit more. But because of this ratio, our Cromford report number actually dropped by about a half a point, right, to 117.2. Because remember, this is a ratio. As that ratio changes between 1 and 2, we'll make that number go up or down. Yes, we got more supply. All right, but we have more buyers, but we don't have as many buyers as we have supply that started tracking that down. And then breaking it down into individual regions and areas, okay, we got Chandler still leading the top. They did not break the 200 like I expected. They're at 199.9, okay? That means 2 buyers for every 1 house out there. All right, they've gone up 11% since last month. Also leading is Gilbert and Glendale. And then Fountain Hills is at 165, still trending down. They're down 7% month over month. All right, but they're still in number 4. Scottsdale's also trending down, continuing on. Basically, the pricier areas are starting to trend down. Scottsdale's down 6%. They're still 123.9 though. But then Paradise Valley surprising Goodyear. And I wanted to point out Goodyear. Goodyear went from being a balanced market at 100.8 last month. Okay, now they're at 89.7. All right, that technically puts them in a buyer's market, but just barely into it. I wouldn't give much credit to that. All right, and then Queen Creek, Buckeye, Maricopa rounds out the bottom, even though all 3 of them are trending up. Buckeye trending up by default because a very small change of 0.3 over last month, still going in the right direction. All right, so the more affordable places getting more popular. The more expensive places getting a little bit less popular. So that was that. Okay, so now we got housekeeping out of the way. Last night, I'm sitting there minding my own business and bing, get a little red one on my phone, all right? And I look at it and it's one of my clients and they sent me something that I just looked at and went, okay, yeah, that's what real estate agents do. But oh my God, this would go really, really well into my podcast tomorrow. So I want to show you guys this. All right. Zoom this out of the way. Okay. This is your average, what we call a front elevation shot of a listing. All right. This is the kind of listing you're going to see on Zillow or Homes.com or anything else. And you look at it. Oh, look. House, garage, weird fence in the backyard. You know, green grass, blue sky, wet driveway. People are always splashing water over the driveway because it makes it contrast more with the surrounding area. It's just something you're always going to see over and over. On the flip side, you also can tell because of the shiny street, this is probably had rain anyways, right? But if you ever see it's like perfectly dry Arizona shot, but the driveway is wet, just know that's what the photographers did. So this was on a Reddit post, all right? And the Reddit post was under the comment, mildly infuriating, all right? But as you know, Reddit, people can post stuff up on there. Somebody posted this picture saying this is mildly infuriating. Why is that? It's because these people actually went out to see this house, all right? And the house that they saw looked like this. Can you tell me what the difference is? Still wet, still green, slightly different angle. But between this and this and this, you might be noticing something in the shot that you're not seeing before. All right. The real estate agent literally photoshopped out the power lines in the backyard. Now, for you people who do not hold a real estate license, this is actually a violation. Right? It's a violation of MLS rules, and it's a violation of the Association of Realtors rules because you are not allowed to modify pictures, right, and change significant details about the house. There was a violation once simply because it was raining when they took the photos and they photoshopped in a blue sky. Only reason why it was caught, you could see water coming in off the downspouts. Violation. They wrote it up. They sent it out in an email to all the real estate agents to look at and say, do not do this. For something as simple as changing weather. Imagine what's going to happen to this agent when these pictures are sent to them or sent to the MLS going, hey, look what this agent did. You think whether or not that would impact you wanted to buy the house or not with these power lines back there. And anybody who was growing up in the 70s, 80s, you remember there was big lawsuits about power lines supposedly causing cancer. All right, there's this term called a cluster. All right, and they were trying to blame it on the power lines. I don't know whatever became of that case. All right, I don't know what's happened. I do know buyers are very big on, hey, power lines, what's up with that? All right, this is a detriment to the house. This is something you can't do, boys and girls. All right, so that was strike one. All right. Quick class, ethical selling of a house. Don't show pictures to make the house look different than what it actually is. You waste your time. You waste a buyer's time, and effectively, sometimes people buy houses sight unseen. All right, literally blows my mind that they do this. I will at least run out there and put you on my phone and we will do a Facebook Live tour of the house. And trust me, that is something I would point out. That is something all my agents would point out. I found out if they didn't point that out, we'd be having a conversation with a baseball bat out in the parking lot. So this is the kind of things, honestly, gives real estate agents a bad name. Let's go to number 2. The other thing that gives real estate agents a bad name. So that was just going to be a really quick comment on this. Then I saw one of my agents posted to their Facebook page something that they saw, all right, on Facebook. And this is the next one I wanted to pull out, all right. I'm sitting there scrolling through, drinking my coffee this morning. One of my agents posts this picture. Oh, that's a cool picture. Facebook, all right. This is located here in Phoenix area. This is off Camelback Mountain. And then I read the narrative. Right? I printed it up. It is with much sadness that I have to report that the beloved Buddha that was in front of the house on the south side of Camelback has been removed. I called the newest listing agent of the house, and he confirmed that he got rid of the Buddha and all the garbage that surrounded it. All that garbage was trinkets and mementos residents brought home from their trips and adventures with which to adorn the Buddha. The realtor is a lovely guy, but obviously does not get the significance and priceless meaning of walking up the mountain and rubbing the happy Buddha's tummy at the end. He said, one of us should have bought the house if the Buddha was so important. If anyone in Arcadia or the south side of Camelback Mountain is looking to put a Buddha at the end of their driveway so neighborhood walkers can have a friendly statue to walk by, I am happy to recruit donations for your efforts. Bye-bye, Buddha, until we meet you again. So, yesterday I was Monday I was talking to one of my clients, and one of my clients was talking about all the neighborhood changes in her old house neighborhood. And we mentioned a certain developer, a certain real estate agent who's very popular in the downtown area, and how he is really big on buying old houses, destroying them, and putting in a bunch of beige monstrosities. Right. I'm not sure if this is the same agent, but let's have a conversation with this. Right? This Buddha was on private property. This private property was being sold. All right. This utilization of the private property was being done for a public good. I am of two minds of this. All right. One of which is, new owner can do anything they want to. Old owner, is the one who actually did this through their agent. So whoever owned this house, this is a listing agent who decided to facilitate getting rid of the Buddha. He might have walked onto the place and said, this will work great, except the statue's got to go. All right, let's get that all cleaned up. It's junky. Obviously, he doesn't know the community. He doesn't know the neighborhood. He doesn't know what's going on in that. And that's happening more and more and more and more. Agents from outside of a neighborhood come in and want to make the sale and change things about the property. I'm doing the same thing, right? I got a house that's about ready to list out in Mesa. We're going through that house and we're doing things to the house to make it more marketable, right? Mostly repairs, all right? Mowing the lawn. Let's get some repairs going, all right? The Buddha, I'm on the road and I'm gunning for the Buddha. This annoys me. I'm not exactly sure why, but it annoys me at a very, very deep, not even spiritual, but but there's definitely emotion down in there, right? And maybe it's just because I hit a certain age, right? But let's talk about the concept of home, right? Home it's a noun, it's an adjective, it's an adverb. It's like my favorite profane word. Okay. Paraphrase, home, the home is home. All right. Whatever that neighborhood feel was, and neighborhoods do get feel. All right. Trust me. The NIMBYs out there do have a fact, right? My neighborhood is fundamentally different than when I first moved in 2004, mostly because of the loss of the trees on that street. Those trees got old, they fell down. Some of them crushed houses, some of them crushed trucks, right? But when the developer at the end of the thing decided to cut down the tree that had been there for forever so he could stick a other house on that property, he managed to carve it off into two separate properties and stuff like that. And it destroyed a little bit about the neighborhood, right? I understand that. And I understand from a completely capitalist financial standpoint, like, hey, I got two for the price of one here. Right. And as housing, since we don't have enough housing, I think we've discussed that a billion times. I understand that. Right. If you wanted to buy that house, and he actually said this, if you wanted to keep the Buddha there, you guys could have bought the house. I'd say you do one better. If you don't like the Buddha, go find another house. Seriously, when you walk into a house, in one of these properties, all right, and let's go back to the gentleman, the downtown agent that I was talking about. He wrote an editorial in a local fish wrapper talking about how change was important. He was doing this because there was a big controversy about they were tearing down a farmhouse, an Adobe farmhouse, one of the few Adobe buildings left in Phoenix, They're going to demo it so he could put more beige monstrosities. Right? And he was getting tied up in court at the whole thing. So what does he do? He writes this editorial about change is important and all the great and glorious reasons. Right? Basically, he came and destroyed a little bit of that neighborhood and walked out for the profit. Or at least his client did. Same thing on this. And this is the real estate agent who came up with this idea. Right? Where is that split right there? Okay. When you were buying the historical, when you were buying the neighborhood icon, yeah, it's yours. You can do anything you want to with it, all right? But why don't you just go find another house? All right. Why don't you understand that when you're buying a piece of history or a piece of effectively community property, all right, a community icon, you're coming into it as a caretaker. All right. You're coming in as a caretaker. Now, this is one of Ray's deep spiritual beliefs, all right, is that when you die and shuffle off this coil that is mortal, all right, there should be a positive number at the end of the equation that is you, all right, because you are going to take up resources, suck down my oxygen, block me in traffic. You're going to do all of these great and glorious things as a human being, right? You're going to eat food, okay? You're going to wear clothing, okay? Everything that you do, all right? You come into the world running up a debt, right? Your parents pay for a lot of that. They take care of you, all right? They look after you. They feed you. They clothe you. They should maintain your life and try to point you in the right direction. So at 18 years old, they can kick you out the door and say, go get them, kid. So you've run up a debt, right? You've run up a debt to your parents. You've run up debt to your community. You run up your debt to your teachers. You're in a deficit. You're in a hole. Right? Hopefully, as you go through life, you start building credit, right? You start making something of yourselves, right? And hopefully, at a certain point in your life, the net output of you is greater than the net input that is you. And I'm not seeing enough of that. And partly could be because I just got off the phone where a gentleman who needs to move to an assisted living community. All right, I was talking to his caretaker, and I was talking to his brother, and I was talking to him. We're trying to get him over into this place. All right, and you think it's like this is where him, who has been putting into his little spawn, his children, who have apparently just decided, he's got like 3 kids. All right, any of these kids stepping up? No, they're all doing their own thing. Now, I know my dad's probably watching this, so he's thinking to himself, well, I don't know if I raised this kid right, but at least I know who to move in with. Yeah, Dad, we got a space for you. We'll build you a shack out back. All right, but still, it's that net negative on the way out. So when I look at this, okay, and I realize somebody advised the homeowner of this. Hey, you're going, to sell this and maximize your personal profit. And you bought this house with that Buddha there. I'm just making that assumption. You bought the house knowing you had this civil icon right here. All right. And just because a third party, me, real estate agent, comes in and says, oh, you want to get rid of that. That's going to keep your house from getting sold. That's making it so you're not. The right buyer would have shown up to this house. All right, the right buyer would have shown up into this house and gone, okay, I will be the caretaker of this property. I will leave it fundamentally enough so we can pass it down to the next generation. And the next generation can take up the mantle of caretaker of the Buddha statue. All right. But we didn't see that in this particular case. There's this thing called Chesterton's fence, all right? And some of you guys might have heard me say this before. It's fundamental difference between humanity. All right. Concept of this fence is you're walking through a forest or you're walking through a field and you come across a fence and it's restricting your progress from where you want to be. All right. And there's a personality type out there who will just be like, yeah, tear the fence down. It's in my way. All right. And there's another personality type that looks at that fence and goes, this fence is in my way, but why is it here? Let's not tear it down too quick. It might be keeping something in. It might be keeping something out. Let's just go randomly tearing stuff down because it's a temporary inconvenience. So, going back to this, think about what we need to be caretakers of. Right? House a couple years ago, I'm listing it. It is classic 1950s time capsule. This thing was retro as hell. All right. And this is right in the middle of Mad Men. Right. So people are coming in and they're looking at this house and they're just glomming onto it. It's like, look at it. Original stove. All the appliances work. Original everything. Great condition. This is not like the carpet's, shagged out and you need to get rid of it. And it went to this fabulous couple who decided to buy it. They were the highest bidder. First thing they do is they gut it out. What they want? They wanted the neighborhood. They didn't want that house. Right? There wasn't fundamentally anything about that house, okay, that appealed to them besides the location and the price point. They didn't love the kitchen. They didn't love the layout. They didn't love the stove. That literally looked like it came out of, a World War II destroyer. It had all these burners. It was gas. It was copper. It was gorgeous. I drove by. It's out on the freaking lot, completely demoed. Right? Why? That house fundamentally didn't mean anything to them. They wanted to live in that particular neighborhood. So when you're out there looking at houses and when you're out there selling a house, right, and you come across that icon thing, all right, understand that's not a house you're building. That's a responsibility that you're buying. All right. And no pun intended, there's a karmic burden that you're taking on to pass that on to somebody else. All right. And while you do it, you can tie this into anything else, right? That's the reason why, Smokey the Bear says, be careful with matches, and Woodsy the Owl says, give a hoot, don't pollute, and all that other good stuff that they raised me on as a kid. But agents who encourage changes like this to destroy a neighborhood for fun and profit, agents that modify the appearance of a listing. It's not like people aren't going to show up and see that anyways, guys. You just want to show up and look at it. Take better indoor photos. All right. Don't Photoshop stuff out. Don't remove the statue. Don't be a dick. And watch your children and pets around the water. Don't drive in anything flooded. Work your circles. Save the statues. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you all later.